I'm Kailee Harper, and welcome to People in Perspective. Joining me on this edition is Diane Andorf, a local beekeeper. Welcome to the show, Diane.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, how long have you been a beekeeper?
I've been a beekeeper for just about 15 years.
And what made you interested in beekeeping?
Well, I was downtown at the Daily Plaza in downtown Chicago at their farmers market, and I came across a booth where the gentleman was selling his honey. And I noticed that he had an observation hive, and I found that extremely interesting. So I stood there and asked him a few different questions about it, and he said how calm and amazing bees are. And he says, and if you look around, you will see how gentle they are, because the booth next to us had flowers. The lady was selling flowers, and he said, you will notice that the bees are not bothering anybody. So I looked over, and sure enough, they were just all around the flowers. And he said they come from the beehives on the top of City Hall. And I found that very, very fascinating. So that's one of the reasons why I decided that I wanted to be a beekeeper.
And how did you learn to be a beekeeper?
Well, we joined a few of the beekeeper associations, and we actually went to beekeeping school down in Indianapolis, Indiana. And believe it or not, we bought the book Beekeeping for Dummies, which I would recommend if anybody was going to be a hobbyist beekeeper to get that book, because it's very, very good.
And where do you get bees?
Well, bees, you can order them through bee suppliers. They have different catalogs. They're all over different states. Or you can order it from your local apiary, which is a bee farm. And if you buy them locally, you pick them up. But if you buy them from out of state, they actually mail them to you it's called a nuke. It's a small box. And inside that nuke is another small box about this big, and that's where the queen is.
So why are they so important?
Honeybees are extremely important. If we didn't have honeybees to pollinate our plants and flowers, our plants would die. So then the animals that eat those plants would also die, so on and so on up the food chain. So we would really struggle to sustain our global human population.
So do bees hibernate?
No, bees don't hibernate in the winter, and even sometimes in the spring when the temperature gets down below 50, 52 and 50, they go in a ball inside the hive, and they gather in a ball and they rotate. So, and they keep the queen in the middle. So they always keep that middle where the queen is about 90 degrees, even all winter. And they just keep rotating. So the bees in the middle go out on the outside, and the bees on the outside go on the inside, and that's how they keep warm. So like say January, February, sometimes we get a little spell of heat, 52 degrees. The bees will come out, they stay in front of their hive, and actually what they do is they clean the hive out. They're very, very clean, and then they go back in.
Interesting. So do you harvest the honey they produce?
We do. We harvest it like in the middle of summer. We don't take a lot of honey because that's actually their food. So you want to leave pretty much most of it in the hive. And I did bring along a couple of items that we use. We have the smoker. We actually burn burlap inside the smoker, and you smoke the bees after you open up the hives, and that calms them down to go further down in the hive, because you want to take out the frame. This frame would actually be in the hive, and it would be full of honey. These are pre-made frames, and they fill the little holes up with honey, and then they cover it with wax. These are the gloves that you would wear. And of course, your veil and hat. They, you also have a jacket. Some people wear a full suit, but this is what we just use this.
So does the smoker calm the bees down?
They do, it does. It calms them down. And like I said, they kind of go down to the bottom because they don't want you to take their honey. That's their food. So
what do you do with all the honey then?
we pretty much use it for ourselves, our own purpose. And we give it to family and friends. So, and neighbors. If you're our neighbor, you might get a pint of honey.
So you talked about the queen. What's the queen?
Well, the queen bee is the boss of the beehive. The bees actually in the beehive are all females. There's a very few males that they just keep to fertilize the queen. Otherwise, the male bee does nothing. They stay in the hive. And the interesting part of it, towards the end of the season, they actually kick all the male bees out, and so they just keep all the females.
So do the females produce all the honey?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Diane, for being a guest on People in Perspective.
Well, thank you for having me. It was enjoyable.
I'm Kailee Harper. Thanks for watching.